If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about the team. Wait.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, as always, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Smash that like button, retweet button, and share button, and let's help continue to spread the good word of Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. I am Phil Stifle, your host, at Bearded Knowledge on Twitter, joined, as always, on Overreaction Monday by my two compadres here. Jason Voorhees at Mustang3651, rocking a really cool Phillies jersey there that I've never seen that design before. I really like it. And my main man, Mark Moscatelli, at Mark with a C, Moscatelli. Good morning, gentlemen, and how are you doing today?
I love that overreaction there.
I love it. I'm ready to get all into Mickey Moniak in the second half of the show for sure. As we talk Sixers, Phillies, little national title game. I am really, really, really hyped because I've been a Mickey Moniak. Is the term stan? Is that the term? I've been a Mickey Moniak stan for quite a while, and I was starting to lose a little faith in my love of that kid there. So we'll definitely get into that. We're brought to you here at DSM Media by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products that go in below-the-waist maintenance. Make sure you check them out, manscaped.com. Use promo code DSM at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Mark, I heard from Jason there. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day today.
Even though your Villanova Wildcats lost on Saturday night, you're still doing fantastic.
I was a little sad for a little bit, but then I look back at the past history of the team, and there's no shame in what we did. So we could talk more about that later in the show. I do have a few things to say about the tournament and where the game tonight. I think it's going to be a heck of a game.
Absolutely. All right, so we got to start Sixers. So last week we were all ready to jump off, and I think I even said it on Friday's episode, depending on how this weekend went, you know, how my overreaction would be. And I've got some really doom and gloom overreactions sitting in the back pocket just for the right moment. But the Sixers, after that awful loss heading into the weekend against Detroit, went on Saturday and Sunday. Went Saturday night, they smoked the Charlotte Hornets, 144-114, and then come back, big win against Cleveland last night, 112-108. Mark, are you ready to pump the brakes and be calm? And are we back on board at Sixers in 5? Or are there still signs of concerns with this team?
I'm back on board. I mean, there were 2 big wins. I mean, listen, whoever you play and you win by 30 points is a big deal. I mean, they whitewashed the Hornets on Saturday. I didn't get a chance to watch much of that game. I had Little League baseball practice, but I caught a little bit of the game yesterday. And what I wanted to talk about the game is what I see on Twitter. You got a bunch of coaches that are crybabies that are complaining about the Sixers getting all their points at the free throw line. And it happened again last night with Bickerstaff complaining about Embiid. He's getting all his points at the line. Well, guess what? Stop him. Don't foul him, and you'll be able to maybe win a game against the Sixers. You know, he shot 17 for 20 at the free throw line. He had 17 points at the free throw line. There are players that make a lot of money that don't score 17 points a game. So you got this. I mean, Embiid is just otherworldly, and he is a guy that is a center who can knock down foul shots. He's unstoppable. He's absolutely unstoppable. And for these teams to complain, well, guess what? Get your guys to stop showboating and start learning the fundamentals of the game. It's never too late. Start making your damn foul shots.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he didn't make other. He still made 12 other buckets. He still had 27 points not on the free throw line. And look, it's not like the Cavaliers had 12 free throws last night. They still had 31 free throws last night. So they were still going to the line as well. Look, the whole complaining about Joel getting to the free throw line too much, it's the same complaint that Giannis, Antetokounmpo lowers his shoulder all the time driving into the basket. It's that, Curry kicks out and, gets his feet tangled up with the players when he's shooting threes. The greats, everybody always has to try to find something to bring the greats down with, an excuse on why they're so great. Giannis, I complain every time Giannis lowers his shoulder into a sixer and gets to the basket for an easy dunk, but that's his game. And you know what? Find a way to stop him. You know what I mean? And, we all complain about the stars and how they do it. So, find a way to stop him is a perfect way to explain it, Mark, like you said.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I talked enough already.
No, you're talking. Well, we're on me and Jason are on mute for the rest of the show. You could just talk.
I lost my train of thought anyway. I'm going to defer to Jason because I know he's a huge Sixers guy.
Jason. We're 6 minutes in and we're already off the rockers here. Do I have vodka for this early in the morning?
I didn't have my coffee or a Monster yet. So.
Man, we are in trouble.
I'm dragging here a little bit. No.
All right. Well, what I'm gonna steer the conversation, Jason, here for Saturday's game first. And Jason, you've been doing a lot more shows with me than Mark. Mark, you're slowly creeping up there, in shows with me. Good morning, Scotty. What's up? The one thing I've been preaching about since we got James Harden, and Jason, this, is the rotations. And the rotations of the stars, not the rotation of the bench. We all know the bench stinks. It is what it is, the bench. But finally on Saturday afternoon game, we were only winning by, hold on, let me pull up the box score again here. 3, 4. We were only winning by 5 at halftime. We won by 30, but we were only up at 5 at halftime. And then in the third quarter, what you saw was something that I've been asking and begging for. Instead of putting Maxey and Embiid together and Harden and Tobias Harris together, Doc Rivers went and ran a 3-bench with Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. And then when they pulled those two out, he put Harden and Embiid back on the floor. We went from being up by a few buckets to being up double digits as soon as that Harris-Maxey combo went on the court. And oddly enough, it wasn't how I predicted it, that Maxey would just use that opportunity to take over. All of a sudden, that combo lit a spark under Tobias Harris. And that third quarter, Tobias Harris had one of his best quarters I've seen in months. He was aggressive. He was shooting. He was driving to the basket. He was dishing the ball off and to other guys on the bench, making layups and dunks. I mean, that combo worked really well. Now, they didn't use that combo yesterday, but I think that was more because Tyrese Maxey got into foul trouble very early in the game, and I think he sat for almost the majority of the second quarter and a big portion of the third quarter. But it's about time. We keep saying Doc needs to keep working on these rotations and find what works, but he never does that. It was nice to see Doc actually try something different in an important game, because let's be honest, Saturday's matinee against the Hornets, playoff game or playoff caliber game against a team going to the playoffs there. You've just lost 3 games in a row. It was a huge game, and he tried something different, and it obviously worked and sparked that team in the second half to a huge victory.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's funny because I keep teasing you about, how you were saying that, but honest to God, Doc Rivers, to me, as I have mentioned numerous times, is stubborn. And it seems like he maybe is starting to realize, I mean, I know it's only a 2-game sample size, so I'm not ready to overreact the other way, but I think I've been the kind of the positive, on this team as far as being patient. But, is there still concerns? Obviously. I guess where I'm frustrated is, and this is what I wanted to bring up. This is what pisses me off about the NBA. Because I don't care. Listen, I'm not being a homer in saying this. I don't care if you're a Sixers fan or just a fan of the NBA. There is no way in God's name that Joel Embiid should not be the MVP. Now, I get it. There's other great players. Giannis is having a phenomenal season. Jokic is always great. But to me, I don't think anybody's done what Joel has done as far as carrying this team on his back. We only just got Harden late in the season. Mm-hmm. How come people are just ignoring that? Like that to me, and listen, it's not all about stats. It's the eye test. And to me, Joel Embiid is the clear-cut MVP. I'm so sick of these people that say,
you said you have your Red Bull. You're fired up.
Because that's frustrating.
Okay,
Joel MVP should be the MVP.
Yeah. So last night I put it out at the beginning of the game. Last night I tweeted out that, there was reports that, Embiid was questionable because he's got a sore ankle. And if you watch the first 5 minutes of that game, you could tell Embiid was not comfortable being out there. You could tell he's sore, he's banged up, he's got injuries, whatever it may be. You could tell his body. You talk about the eye test on play. I talk about the eye test on body language. And his body language was like, dude, I'm hurt. So the guy was well less than 100% last night. And you could tell. But what did he go out there and do last night? On a bum ankle, all the other, bumps and bruises of a season. And he goes out there last night and puts up 44, 17, 5 blocks. I saw something like just going over 40 points, over 10 rebounds, and over 5 blocks is like such an achievement that, that stat line never happens.
And can I ask you something? How come when Giannis did it last week, everyone was like, Giannis? But Joel does it, and it's like nobody even bats an eyelid.
They hate the process. That's all there is to it.
It's frustrating. Why?
I'm with Jason here.
I mean, it's bullshit.
Embiid
really is.
He's essentially been the MVP for 2 straight years. He's shown that it is his team. He does take the entire team on his back. For all you say about load management, this dude wants to play all the time and does every chance he gets. Meanwhile, you have LeBron James with the Lakers on the outside looking in, decides to sit out a game, which is a disgrace. So I'm thankful that Embiid is a Sixer, and I'm thankful that he loves the city and to play for the Sixers, and he's embraced being the team leader, and he performs every night. When was the last time he had a game where you said, oh, he had a really, really, really bad game? I mean, even when he has a bad game, he's putting up 20 points and 10 rebounds. So he is by far the MVP of the league. I agree with you, Jason, and I think he was the MVP later. So I don't the hate against, and this is the homer of me coming out, the hate against all things Philadelphia from the sports community is nauseating at times, and I can't take it anymore because this town is the best when it comes to supporting their teams and knowledge about the sports that play in this town. And yet we get shit on all because we threw snowballs at Santa Claus back in 1968. I don't understand it.
Dude, Mark, you don't understand how I've been fighting that narrative for 20 plus years now. So, the crapping on the Philly fans is the laziest narrative in all of sports. I don't even like to bring it up anymore because it's just it's pointless to argue because we're never going to win it. We're never going to win that argument. It's just frustrating. It's pointless and all. But back to Joel Embiid. I mean, you look at it last night. Like I said, less than 100%, less than 80%. It was a game that you talk about LeBron sitting out an important game. It's an easy game that that Joel could have sat out last night. We've only got, the season ends Saturday or Sunday next week. We've only got 4 games. He needs a break at some point. He's less than 100%. He could have easily sat out last night. And nobody would have batted an eye if he sat out last night. We're all talking about LeBron. They're fighting for that last spot. We've got our spot locked up. We might go 3, we might go 4, we might go 2, in the standings. But we've got our spot locked up. We've got a first-round home playoff series locked up. Joel could easily say, I need a break, a blow before the playoffs get here, and he went in there and he trooped it out. I don't know if you guys saw. Someone posted a picture late last night, early this morning. I saw it this morning of LeBron sitting in the bench last night, and a picture of Kobe Bryant all taped up his last season. It was end of the season, his last season. The Lakers had like 18 wins. He's got shoulder, iced up. He's got wraps everywhere, and he was out there playing. That's the difference between LeBron and Kobe, but it's also the difference between LeBron and Joel. The desire for Joel to be the best, to play every day. It's something that's it's refreshing to see. It really is, because again, without his performance last night, we don't win that game, because James Harden still can't knock down a shot. Tobias, for as good as he looked on Saturday, looked awful last night. 4 of 14 shooting. Still, the bench issues are still a problem. So we do not win that game last night if Joel does not play, and if Joel does not put up those kind of numbers.
I think you're being a little bit of a negative Nancy. Harden did have a triple double last night.
Hold on. I'm going to cut you off there. Triple double can be a hollow stat.
Okay.
He was 7 from deep. He was 4-13 overall. Had 4 turnovers. He did have a triple double. He did knock down 11 of his 12 free throws. But let's be honest, his shooting has been really, really subpar his last 6, 7, 8 games.
He should be better.
It should be much better than it is.
And Tobias Harris he sealed the game last night with that dunk after Thibault steal.
Yeah, but we're not in that position to win if Joel is not playing. Not last night. Not with the performance.
I think this is.
That's my point, Phil. And that's all the more reason why Embiid should be the MVP. Because, like I said, if you want to go strictly numbers, you look at Giannis and Embiid; they almost have the exact numbers. I think Embiid is averaging 30 points a game. Giannis is averaging 30.1. Ooh, you know what I mean? Like, how close is that? I think the rebounds are 11.5 to 11.7. I mean, the numbers are similar, but to me, Embiid has carried the Sixers. And I'm not saying Giannis doesn't carry the Bucks, but I think the Bucks have more. They have a better bench and they have more depth than the Sixers. Like, if you look at it team by team concept, Joel Embiid, what he does on the court, nobody can do. Like, I don't even see Giannis do what Joel does, as far as Joel being how big he is. So why does he get the hate, and why does Giannis get all this accolade? It's just frustrating, and I think Mark said it. Like, it's because we're hated here in Philly, but it's not fair. Like,
you know what it is too. You know what it is too about Embiid.
Life is not fair.
I got that, but it doesn't mean I can like it.
You know what it is too, Jason, is that Embiid has a personality. He's flamboyant. He interacts with the fans and on Twitter, and a lot of people don't like that. And he will talk shit. He's a shit talker. And a lot of people don't like that outside of the city. Even some of the fans here, some of a guy like Howard Eskin-esque, doesn't like that type of player. And honestly, sports is entertainment. It is entertainment. And to have a guy like that in the city who entertains on and off the court is a treasure and should be protected at all costs. I mean, I haven't seen a player like this on the Sixers since AI, and then before AI, probably Barkley. I mean,
but AI was a different kind of flamboyant personality, than Joel. Joel, much different style of personality, than Joel. Because Joel is more of or AI was more of a me. It's all about me kind of thing. But Joel is more of a trying to talk trash to get into people. You didn't really see Iverson trying to get in people's heads with his words. He did it with his actions, like the step over of Ty Lue.
I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it really doesn't matter if the Sixers win a championship. I'd rather the Sixers win a title than Embiid win the MVP. At the end of the day,
and that's actually a great point there. I don't know if you guys caught it. There's a little snippet coming out of Saturday's game that Doc Rivers said, after the game, that before the game he went to Joel on Saturday and said, "Yo, you could dominate, this Hornets team. that this could really pad your MVP numbers. And Joel's response was, "Yo, I don't really care about that. I just want the win so we can win this title. That's all I care about." And there's two ways to take that. One, you could take that Joel cares, just like you, Jason, more about the team achievement and that ultimate goal of the title than the MVP. Or you could take it that maybe Doc Rivers' priorities are in the wrong place when he's trying to motivate this team, or how he's choosing to motivate this team is in the wrong place. I don't know which way you guys want to take that, but I could definitely see it going either way there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be like a baseball player, or a baseball manager trying to keep a guy in that for a no hitter, even when there's 3 guys on base. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's more important, the accolade or winning the game? At the end of the day, the win is more important.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. I mean, where is Doc Rivers at right now? But like I said, to me, Doc Rivers has been so stubborn to the point where he doesn't want to ever change. Now, the last 2 games, I've seen some change as far as the lineup and how the game has went, down the stretch. So I'm willing to say maybe we're turning a corner. Maybe it was a wake-up call. Maybe this team just did need to face adversity, as I've been saying for a while, that you can't go into the playoffs with your head all the way up here. Because I've seen teams, and to me, the perfect example is the Celtics. I believe the Celtics peaked too soon. I think they're going to struggle come playoff time. I'm not saying they're not going to be dangerous, but what I'm saying is when you have that, you do well. It's the law of averages. You can't just keep it sustained forever. I've seen it with hockey teams where hockey teams have a great stretch in February. They win like 12 games out of 15 or something, and then come playoff time, they're bounced in the first round. It happens all the time. And I'm not saying like you don't want to be good in the regular season, but what I am saying is that there is such a thing as someone, having too big of a head and being too confident. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
Yeah, Mark.
No, I from a Joel Embiid standpoint, when you talk about does he want the MVP or does he want the championship, what told the story on Joel Embiid was that Toronto series when they lost on that Kawhi Leonard shot at the last second, and he was in the hallway in tears, had to be consoled by his girlfriend at the time. That it showed to me he really, really, really cared. And I think he could do both. He can win the MVP and bring us a title at the same time. And I think that he has the ability to do that. And if he tries to be the MVP, I think it just helps the team continue to win and continue to be successful. But I don't think he's that selfish of a player that he needs to have that first over everything. He has shown me to be a team first guy, and he has shown me to care for his teammates. He is a true leader, and I wish more would come out on that because I don't really think it does nearly as much. But I think I think all of his teammates love and respect him, and I think he plays the game the right way. I mean, fundamental wise, like he's really, really good. I mean, and he is beyond what a big man is. So he can win the MVP and the championship and do both pretty successfully without alienating his teammates and his coach and his fans. I think he's on the right trajectory, if you ask me.
Yep, we're gonna find out. And so we keep talking about this, and Doc and Doc's comments. Do you think there's any thread that Doc played him last night or Joel played last night, even at less than %, because he does want to keep those stats rolling in for that MVP chase? It just kind of popped into my head. I mean, he was obviously questionable last night. Doc's trying to egg him on to pad his stats to get that MVP. And last night was an easy game. I mean, it's not like the Cavaliers have this dominant center that they needed Joel out there for. Is there any thought process that maybe he played that game specifically knowing that it would help his, even though he says it's not important, that, do you think he would put his body at risk this close to the end of the season to get that MVP trophy.
No,
Because obviously last night's 44-point game helped pad those stats big time.
I don't think he would. I think if he knew it was, I think if he knew he was hurt to the point where he couldn't play, he wouldn't play, Phil. I think Joel.
Go back and watch the first 3 or 4 minutes of that game and just look at Joel's face. And he's standing there with his hands on his hip a lot. He was when the offense was coming down the court, he was going and standing in the corner, kind of like a 3-point shooter sniper would. You could tell he was laboring a lot early. And as the game flow went on, maybe it loosened up a little bit and it wasn't as the pain wasn't as noticeable. But you look at his body language at first in that game. To me, there was like no point in my mind that he should have been playing that game.
In any sport, Phil, at this point in the season, people are in pain.
No, absolutely agree with you. There's no doubt about that.
Listen, like I said, I think Joel Embiid is a big boy enough to know whether he's able to be on the court or not. It's hard to tell any athlete to sit. And even if that was in the back of his mind that he wants to win the MVP, is there really necessarily anything wrong with that, Phil? I mean, because to me, I want my athletes to have that, will to win and want to be the best. So I'm actually happy that he played because to me, it shows me a sign that he does care. Like Mark said, I think at the end of the day, the most important thing, and I've said it, is the health. But there's a fine line because, like I said, at this point in time, I believe a lot of players are playing hurt to an extent.
Obviously, they are. But there's a difference between playing hurt and with bumps and bruises and playing with something that's, potentially going to be an issue come playoff time. And, obviously, we've been told that they were going to rest, Joel and James Harden down the stretch here a little bit to get them ready. And they haven't really rested them much. They've pretty much played every game. So last night, back-to-back game, you got a guy that's banged up. It was an opportune moment to give him a rest. I just don't know. I mean, now you look at it, they don't play till Tuesday against Indiana. They play Tuesday and Thursday, Indy and Toronto. Maybe they rest them one of those games, but they're not back-to-back games. So do you really need to rest them there? You got at home Saturday and Sunday. Are you really going to rest your two stars at home for the home crowd? Obviously that'll cause an uproar amongst the people paying ticket. So I don't know. I just thought it was a good opportunity to rest him last night, and obviously it worked out in our favor that they didn't. But it's something that concerns me going forward. That Doc, not again. It all comes down to Doc. To me,
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So I'm looking at the standings right now. So they're 2.5 games out, and they're tied with Milwaukee for the 3-4 seed. So how many games are left?
4.
And they're 5.5. They're 3 games over the Bulls. So They could literally lose 3 games right now and still be the 4th seed. At this point, I think I would rest them. I'm just doing the math. Why would you want to? You're not going to get the 1st seed. Odds are, unless you win out and Miami has a collapse.
And Boston and Bucks have to collapse too.
Yeah. So why, knowing that you are locked in right now as the 4th seed, wouldn't it be smart to rest these guys? I believe it would.
I agree. Honestly, at this point, I'm not even sending Joel on the road trip to Indy and Toronto. I'm letting him sit 2 games. I know that's unpopular. I know it's not going to happen. But honestly, you're pretty much 90% locked into that 4 seed. You got to be ready for that first round matchup against the Bulls or the Raptors. I'm letting Joel play 2 games out of these final 4. I'm getting him as much rest. Same thing with James Harden. I'm giving him as much rest as possible. So I know it's unpopular, but it's the way I'm doing it. Mark, what would you be doing?
I'm going to go back to what Jason said earlier about peaking at the right time. I think they need to play these games and peak right at, win 4 straight going into the playoffs would be pretty good for their confidence and really start that peak for them to really kind of take the ball and run with it in the playoffs. if they want to rest these guys, I would do in-game rests. If you're playing 33 minutes, maybe you're going to play 23 minutes. I would do that. I think these games are still important for the psyche of the team, and I believe that they have to go in on a hot streak, whatever that hot streak may be, and sitting those guys doesn't bode well for them to be peaking at the right time.
Yep. One thing, and you say you guys keep talking about peaking at the right time. The one thing in the last 2 games that and I'm not trying to be negative. We've just won 2 games back to back. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here. I'm trying to keep the positivity. But something that this Sixers team, compared to the Brett Brown Sixers team, has always done well is they don't turn the ball over a lot. All of a sudden, the last 2 games, they average less than 12 turnovers a game, the Sixers team. The last 2 games, they've got a combined 34 turnovers. That is very and last night they had 19 of them last night. I think it was 19 or 17 of them last night. That is very, very uncharacteristic of this Sixers team. It was actually 14, and then it was 19 the game before against the Hornets. Very uncharacteristic of the Sixers team. And you see a lot of the turnovers coming from Joel, too. Joel's had a couple in the last week or two, 7+ turnover games. Why all of a sudden is this team not capable of taking care of the ball? Because that's actually, come playoff time, if you have games where you're turning the ball over 15, 16, 17 times a game, that's a recipe for disaster come playoff time. And I can't put my finger on why. Maybe they're pressing a little bit. Maybe they're trying too hard. Maybe it's the fact that you see a lot more, individual basketball play versus team play in the last, couple weeks for the Sixers. But something's wrong in that turnover department, and it's something that's extremely concerning to me.
Yeah, you can't turn over the ball. I mean, that's how Villanova ended up losing their game Saturday night. You got to protect the ball. I think to your point, Phil, I think they are pressing and trying to do too much. And if there's any negatives about Embiid's game, it is he does turn the ball over here and there. You got to protect the ball. Listen, they're professionals getting paid millions of dollars a year. And again, talking about when you learn basketball, you learn one of the first things you learn is your foul shots, and then you learn how to protect the ball, not make stupid passes and stuff like that. So they know better, and they need to do a better job protecting the ball. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that other than it will cost them a game or two down the road if they continue that habit in the playoffs.
I agree. All right, so we keep talking about peaking too soon, and we're going to use that as the thread for the rest of the show here. We're going to transition into some Phillies talk here. Obviously, the Phillies, all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, as predicted, I mean, they're hitting a lot of home runs. We need a cool nickname like the Phillies Bombers or something like that. The Broad Street Bombers or something. I don't know. We got to come up with a good nickname for them. But, man, yesterday, again, another spring training game, but Bryce Harper, 2 more home runs. Mickey Moniak, 2 more home runs. Mickey Moniak's season is upon us. He was told before the game yesterday by Joe Girardi he had made the club. And then he goes out and hits 2 more home runs. One that I think left the stadium and the other one opposite field. I'm hoping that Mickey Moniak is not peaking too soon here because, I've been calling for Mickey Moniak to get a chance and people to be patient with him because he was so young. People are calling him a bust at 19 years old. I mean, come on. No 19-year-old is ready to be a breakout star in the majors, at that age. It's Mickey Moniak season, but I'm hoping he's not peaking too soon. Jason, how can Joe Girardi not put Mickey Moniak in the opening day lineup, right from the get-go?
Because he's Joe Girardi. You wanted a simple answer. I gave you.
Go get him, Jason.
No. So for me, I'm actually excited to get to talk about this because I see a lot of great things going on right now with Phillies prospects. And there's one common denominator that a lot of people aren't talking about, maybe just because they forget about it or they choose to forget about it. But there is a major reason that the Phillies prospects for so long have not done well. And that was a systematic flaw.
Mhm.
And that flaw was led and driven by two analytics nerds that were running this team, Andy McPhailure and Matt Klentak. And they are no longer here. And isn't it a coincidence that all of a sudden these guys that we were saying were busts, or as you mentioned, a lot of people were saying, are actually starting to turn the corner? And I'm telling you that there is not a coincidence that is occurring now that Matt Klentak is gone, because I believe that those guys had this system all screwed up. We didn't have the right people in place in player personnel and development. That's the most important spot in baseball, because let's face it, if you realistically want to have a good team long term, it doesn't matter how many free agents you sign. You've seen it with the Yankees. The Yankees spend money every year, and they're not winning every year. You have to have a balance. And I think you're going to start to see now that the Phillies do have some good prospects. It's not all that they just couldn't draft well or that they missed on every player they took. I think it was more so the fact that they didn't have the right people developing these kids. I think the system has now changed. You have Dombrowski in power, but you have other people at the lower levels, and that's where it's actually happening, folks. And I'm excited because Mickey Moniak, he was a first pick in the draft. Like, listen, he deserves a shot. Am I saying he's going to be, this superstar, MVP, all-star type player? Probably not. But, can he be an everyday center fielder? I absolutely think so. And a lot of times with these guys, you got to let them play. And this is the perfect opportunity for that because you have a good team. It's not like you have only a couple good players on your roster and you don't want to have, have somebody come up and struggle. You're not going to be expecting him. He's going to be your 9-hole hitter. Let the guy play. Plug him in and play. Same thing with Stott.
And he's got to play every single day.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not against platoons, but I'm against platoons with young players. Yeah.
I would, to me, if I'm Girardi, Stott and Moniak should be in an everyday lineup, not platooning. You have
absolutely agree with you on that. 110%. I mean, I look at it a bunch of different ways. First off, young players need everyday at bats. If you're not going to play them every day, you send them to the minors because platooning a young kid is not productive. Like I brought it up last week. You go back to 1993 and the Phillies, and they had multiple platoons. On the different situation because the guys that were platooning
they were all veterans.
Yeah, they were. You had Pete Incaviglia and Milt Thompson platooning. You had Mariano Duncan and Mickey Morandini platooning. They were all veterans. They knew how to handle it. Mickey Moniak, Alec Boehm or Bryson Stott, they don't know how to handle a platoon situation. You got to give them every day. And what are you going to lose? I look at it as you invested a first overall pick in Mickey Moniak. You got to get something out of that, or at least see whether you can or not. What Matt Vierling, everybody's high on Matt Vierling because of his cup of coffee last year. Well, this spring he's not doing anything special. He's batting .219. He's actually had more at bats than Mickey Moniak because people are all high on Matt Vierling. You invested a 5th round pick on Matt Vierling. He's a year and a half, 2 years older than Mickey Moniak. You check out your higher investment first. You give him the shot, and if he doesn't work out, then you still got Matt Vierling there that could step in. Same thing with Bryson Stott. You got to give Bryson Stott the shot, even if it's at third base. He's played third base now 4 times in the last 8 games. You give him a shot at it. You have to.
I know Carter Hart is against doing that because he says he's a shortstop. But listen, at the end of the day, the guy needs to play. And I don't think Joe Girardi's going to sit Didi. I mean, that would be unprecedented, in my opinion, because not only do they have that bond, it's like almost like he's like his adopted son. Like they're like a unit together. But listen, you nailed it. You cannot have these guys platooning. You got to let them play. And I'm not saying that Matt Vierling's not a good player, but to me, you're at a point in your time right now, your timeline has kind of changed. You went over the tax. This team is ready to compete now. Would you rather play Matt Vierling, who you may get average production out of? Or would you rather be proactive and start Moniak and hope for that upside from a first-round pick that you spent on him? To me, I think it's a no-brainer. You go with who the guy that's going to give you the best shot in the future, and that's
the guy with the highest ceiling.
Exactly. And
Mark,
but like you said, you got to let these kids play. They're young kids, but there's something to be said about it's the same thing. Like I see it in the NHL a lot. Like a lot of teams just tend to like wait so long on these guys instead of just, dude, they're going to have growing pains. They're going to have them. Mm-hmm. But we're not in a situation where we're like a 60-win team and you're bringing up a prospect and you're going to say, well, you know, he's struggling. Let's send him down to the minors because his mentality's bad. You have a team that can compete right now. These guys having an influx of infusion with these youth guys in the lineup is going to make it that much more fun. And not to mention being around guys like Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, all these, you know, veteran guys, it's going to rub off on them.
Mark?
I think I agree to a point where you shouldn't platoon a young player, but we have a shortened spring training, and maybe Veering and Moniak will platoon early in the season, but I'm going to say that Mickey is going to end up wrestling that position away from a platoon, and he'll be a starter probably within the first 2 months of the season. I think that's probably what their game plan is, and to see how he does day in, day out with major league pitching. I mean, some of the guys that they're throwing out there aren't going to make their major clubs, and see if he can excel. And if he does, he will wrestle that job away. The Phillies need to kind of show that they drafted the right guy in 2016 with the number 1 pick. And again, I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I think he could be a solid Major League Baseball player that can give you some homers, some steals, get on base, play some really good defense. The one thing that I disagreed with the Phillies doing is drafting a high school player number 1. I don't like that. Now that the college programs are much better today than they have been. To draft a high school player at such high of a position is really risky, especially when you don't have a farm system that had a track record of developing young people the right way. See Scott Kingery on that.
Well, you can see Cornelius Randolph and Adam Hazley, who were both first-round picks, and they are both gone, you know, from the organization. They were both. Well, Hazley was a college kid, right? I know Cornelius Randolph was a high school kid.
Well, I mean, Scott Kingery was a college, and he was very good at college, but they totally screwed that guy up, and he'll never be the same. And he's a wasted talent, and it's a damn shame because I thought he was going to be a superstar. Mm-hmm. I think now with Dombrowski in full control now, I think things will be better. Although he's not really known as somebody that drafts well, he's a guy that trades a lot of prospects for veterans. He likes doing that, but we don't have any prospects to trade really for that right now. So he does have to build the farm system. And getting back to the farm system, how did we win in 1980? How did we win in 2008? The majority of the players that were the key members of those squads were homegrown. And how
many guys in our starting lineup on opening day will be homegrown guys? Aaron Nola,
Moniak, and that's it.
Moniak, Hoskins, Nola. You know,
Hoskins. I forgot Hoskins. Okay.
I mean, Stott or Bohm, whoever plays third base. Not much.
Did they say if Stott made the team?
They have not made that official announcement yet. They've only they haven't even actually officially said Moniak. That was just a report that somebody like a Jim Salisbury type came out and said was behind the scenes said. The organization hasn't confirmed that, but you know, yeah, I mean, you're going to have 28-man rosters to start the season. Stott's making the team, whether he's starting over Alec Bohm or not. That's another question. but with the 28-man teams, and then they were talking about the bullpen that Girardi wants to bring 16 pitchers up instead of 15 or whatever it is out of the 28. And but now because of injuries, I guess Coonrad there's a couple of bullpen guys are a little banged up and won't be ready. So you might get a fourth or fifth bench guy to start the season, which goes along with bringing up Stott, Bohm, Moniak, Vierling, all those young guys. But honestly, if you look around the thing, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, all brought in. JT Realmuto brought in. Didi brought in. Gene Segura brought in. Zach Wheeler brought in. A lot of this team is not home.
Yeah, but you can't keep bringing guys in and spending hundreds of millions of dollars either. But like you have to.
That's fine. No, and this kind of goes to what I just said earlier. That's fine to do that, but you also need the youth, and that's why I'm saying it's all the more reason why Moniak and Stott should be starting. And Bohm is another guy that, listen, a lot of people are just all of a sudden pushing him to the side like, oh, my God, because he struggled. He's still young himself. Alec Bohm hit 300 just 2 years ago. The guy last year was expected to be one of the carriers of this team. He doesn't have to do that now. This is what I'm saying. Like, I would use Bohm at the DH. That's where Bohm makes sense to me. If you want to get him right, and
there's too many DHs on this team.
I'm sorry?
There's too many guys that
shit ton of them.
There's a crap load of guys that benefit.
Well, there's
from
a lot of options.
I would put Hoskins at DH and have Bohm play first.
That's fine.
I said that before the offseason. Yeah,
because as much as I like Rhys Hoskins, he's terrible in the field. Yeah. I mean, even from a first baseman standpoint, he's just not good.
I'm not really worried. I'm going to buy into. I hate analytics, but I'm going to buy into that theory that I read a couple weeks ago that defense isn't as important as it used to be. So I'm gonna buy into that and hope that it does not hurt us. Because again, the whole point of this conversation is, the Phillies are going to be Broad Street. But is this offense as potent, if not more potent, than that 2008 offense?
Oh yeah. I think the offense potential has the potential to be the number one offensive. I believe the 93 Phillies team, I think, might have scored the most runs ever. Maybe that was eclipsed, but that team scored a shit ton of runs. I remember Lenny Dykstra led the league and was like an astronomical amount. I think he had 150 runs scored. I think this team could score more runs than that team. And that's just like, A, because of the ballpark. B, because they have so many guys that can hit the ball out of the park. And it's not just the big five. I mean, Gene Segura's got pop. He could hit 20 home runs easily. Gene Segura, when he's playing well, is a solid player. Like, and Gene Segura, yes, he's older, but he's done well pretty much every season. I think he had one bad year for the Phillies, like as far as offensively. And then, oh, by the way, Rhys Hoskins, yeah. I mean, he could hit 40 bombs this year if he's healthy. Like, the sky is the limit for this offense. I'm excited to go to the bank. I am. I know you and I will be down there, Phil. Pretty soon, right?
So the Phillies scored 877 runs in 93 and 799 runs in 08. So the 93 team did have
that 93 team could rake. They were good. Listen, I got this.
Might have been close to a record.
I got this. We're talking about runs and home runs. I got this teed up. I don't know if you've seen Schwarber's home run yesterday. Listen to that. Listen to the crack of that bat. This is what we're going to see all summer. And, God, I hope so, because if you guys remember how that stadium was when they were making their pennant runs, it was a lot of fun. And, cracks of the bat like that is going to bring people to the stadium. I might even go see a game this year. I didn't go last year. I want to go this year. And, I said this before in the show. This town is a baseball town that happens to be dormant right now. And if they get on to a hot streak and they start winning some games and they start hitting some home runs, that place will be packed all summer long, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a fun summer, guys.
All right, let's transition here. We got 10 minutes left in the show. We got to wrap it up with some Villanova, Duke, UNC, Kansas talk here. Saturday night, obviously, Final Four. Nova and Duke dropped the games, ending their season. We had a lot of very upset DSM team members, Mark and Scotty. Scotty even quit DSM for about 30 minutes because he was so upset.
He was pissed, dude.
He was frustrated, that boy, man. You know, that's
Listen,
passion for your team right there.
I'm still wearing my Villanova stuff today.
There you go. That's how you rep. That's how you rep. You got to rep in the good times and the bad times. And then tonight, obviously, is the championship game. The number 8 seeded North Carolina Tar Heels versus the Kansas Jayhawks, one of the number 1 seeds. I will say on a side note, the first ever March Madness bracket I filled out was, I don't even remember what year it was. It was the North Carolina Eric Montross led team that beat the Michigan Wolverines in the finals. And I was the only kid. Was that 93? Okay, I knew it was like 92, 93, somewhere around there. I was in like 7th grade over at Holy Cross at the time. And I was the only kid. We did one in the whole entire class. 30-some people. We all filled one out. We all threw a buck in. And I was the only person that had UNC winning that title. And I won all the money. So I got my first win right out of the gate there. So I always have this little slight love and appreciation for UNC because they won me my first bracket. But let's backtrack. Mark, you're the basketball, you're the college guy. What happened on Saturday night? Why did Villanova lose? Why did Duke lose? And then we'll get into tonight's game.
For Villanova, it was pretty easy. They lost the game in the first 10 minutes of the game, or first 3 minutes of the game, going down 10-0. They didn't have an answer for McCormick under the net for Kansas, and their 3-point guy that made like his first 5 hit rhymes with hibachi. I forget what his last name was. They couldn't stop either of those players. And if they had Justin Moore would have taken away at least the inside game or the outside game, one or the other, and it would have made the game a lot closer. I'm still not sure that they would have won because Kansas was off the hook. And, you know, to the credit of Jay Wright and Colin Gillespie and the rest of the kids that were on that court, they refused to let that game die. Colin played as if he did not want that to be his last game ever playing college. And as a shame, a lot of these college kids, this is the last time that they'll ever play organized basketball at this level. So, I mean, that's why you see like these kids crying on the way out. But their guy Braun hit 2 threes that were just daggers. One with 1 second left on the shot clock, and one a little bit later that just kind of sealed the deal. And then they Wright called out Gillespie, and Samuels kind of threw in the white towel at that point. I mean, they were down big, and it was just, you know, they got it down to I think as close as 6 after being down by 19. But Kansas was just too good, man. They are as advertised, and they came to play. And listen, I said on the other couple shows that Villanova had their number in the last 3 times that they've met, and I'm sure that there was a little bit of payback that Bill Self wanted against Nova. You know, I'm super proud. I didn't expect that team to go to the Final Four, but they did, and they should hang their heads up high. It was a real nice season for Nova.
And how about the Duke game there? That was a close game. There, you know, some people would say there's some questionable calls down the line, but you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a foul that was called. I think that was questionable. But what I saw that was huge was their center Williams missed 2 free throws late, and that kind of did him in. And you know what was great about that game is it was as advertised. I knew it was going to be a great game. And they, I don't know, had like 15 different lead changes and 8 different ties. But like it was a heavyweight fight. And that's my concern going into the championship tonight. UNC did great, and they've overachieved all year. But I don't think they have. I think they spent too much to beat Duke to also beat Kansas tonight. I'm going to take Kansas. I think the spread is 4.5.
Yeah, well, ESPN's got it listed at -4 right now.
Okay, I would take Kansas -4.
Okay, yeah.
That's what Kansas was unbelievable against Nova. I mean, they hit every damn shot that they took, and they got so many turnovers from Villanova. And Villanova failed under the basket. They missed. I stopped counting after 9 layups under under the basket there that they missed or have blocked or whatnot. So Kansas is coming to play. I don't see anybody beating them. So I mean, it's been a great college tournament. If you guys didn't follow it, I suggest you do it next year. It's a lot of fun, and there are a lot of good stories.
I have a question for you, Mark.
Yes.
So after you were down and sulking over Nova losing,
yes,
did the fact that Duke lost, did that make you all of a sudden happy and excited? Was it like us Eagles fans when Dallas loses? Was that the feeling that you were having, Mark? I would like to know. I hope Scotty's watching the show. I know
that's the only reason why you asked. That's the only reason why you asked that question.
Yes. So, all right, let me lay it out here. So Coach K and Duke University, when he first started in 1980 or whenever it was, Duke was Villanova what it is today, maybe a step or two behind. And they were the also-rans in the ACC, and he built up a beautiful program. Somewhere along the line, he became the very person that probably he didn't want to be. And he kind of, within the last 10 years, and I've said that, he's no different than any other coach that's out there. He's been living on his reputation for a long, long time. He's very elitist. He's very pompous. He's the type of guy that will lecture you for not playing basketball the right way. He's the type of guy that will talk down to not only the media, but to the student media of his own university. And it's been documented. And meanwhile, you have your national media trying to push a narrative about how great this guy is. What disgusted me was his last home game. He got out and instead of saying like, "Oh shucks, thank you, I really appreciate it," he talks shit on his own team, like how that was a disgrace of a display and will make like why would you do that? Like he's kind of lost all touch with reality with coaching young people. I believe that. And he was once somebody that would admire, but probably stayed too long in the game and it could probably poison them. Scotty will disagree.
Will Duke be able to handle and stay prominent now that he's not there?
Short term? Yes.
Short term, yes.
Because, I mean, who's the guy? Of John something or other. I can't think of what the guy's name is. He's got his, he still has Coach K's recruiting class. They got, I think, like 5 McDonald's All-Americans coming in next year. Okay. But, like, if they don't keep up with the Joneses in the ACC, people aren't going to go there anymore. They're going to go elsewhere. And they could fall down really, really quick. You see with something like Georgetown. Georgetown was a perennial powerhouse in the 80s. And then, once Iverson left in the 90s, like that place has never been the same. So it could happen to Duke. It could happen.
So real quick, I know we're almost ready to wrap this up. You wanted to give a shout out to the women's championship games too. And one local girl, Dawn Staley.
Dawn Staley, the pride of North Philadelphia and Merrill Dobbins Tech, won her second championship last night. She is undefeated in championship games, not Gino Auriemma, who happens to be a local guy too. And they crushed the UConn Huskies last night and did a hell of a job. And what I admired the most is Dawn Staley got on the podium with the championship trophy and gave accolades to her bench players, not their starters, her bench players, for helping all throughout the season to prep them for the big game there. And if that's not leadership and somebody to look up to, I don't know who is. Kudos to Dawn Staley and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Big win, super proud.
So there was rumors, last year or 2 years ago that NBA teams are even looking at Dawn Staley as a head coaching candidate. Do you think Dawn Staley could be that first woman to coach in the NBA? Or is she now pretty much entrenched there in that college game and locked up as one of the greats there and is going to stay? Kind of like Coach K, kind of like Jay Wright.
She's probably at the top 2 or 3 women's coaches. I can't say that I follow women's basketball really, really close, but enough to know that she's really, really good. She could probably coach in the NBA and probably garner a lot of respect from players. It's just she would have to start as an assistant. I mean, I wouldn't hire her straight out as a head coach. But who's the girl over at San Antonio? Becky Hammond.
Becky, yeah, she actually left the NBA. She
Yeah,
went to the NBA to get a head coaching job.
Yeah, I would give her a shot in the NBA first.
I really thought she was being groomed to take over for Pop. Yeah, she was basically kind of that like coach in waiting, kind of like, you know. But eventually, these guys don't want, or guys, girls, these people don't want to, you know, wait forever. That's why McDaniels, you know, he was supposed to be in waiting in New England for Belichick. You know, he's tired of waiting. He goes out and gets another job. But yeah, eventually they get tired of waiting.
I think it's harder in like your football and baseball sports to have the women to break that barrier. Basketball, I think, is a little bit on a different level. And why it's still hard, I think it would be a lot more easy to digest by the athletes than, say, football, which I think is damn near impossible, just the way how things are lined up. So hopefully maybe within the next decade, we'll see a woman coach. And damn, I would hope to see them succeed really well. I think that's one of the scary things is having somebody like a Becky Hammond or a Dawn Staley come in, but then fall on their face and just be god awful. And then women will never get another chance to coach again. So it's kind of a risky high wire act. I think that is being played here, but hopefully somebody wants to be that pioneer. If it's Dawn, I got her support.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to wrap up the show there this morning, Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. Jam-packed episode there. It's great work, guys. As always, I'm Phil Stifle at Bearded Knowledge, Jason Voorhees at Mustaine3651, and Mark Moscatelli at Mark with a C, Moscatelli. You're going to have to change your Twitter handle to say at Mark with a C instead of actually with the C. Actually type that out there.
I haven't figured that out yet, Phil, but I'm thinking of doing that.
Yeah, Mark with a C, Moscatelli. We got a jam-packed week this week on Trending in the AM. Jason will be on Wednesday and Friday. Tomorrow morning, we got special guest Jason Lee. He's a producer over at PHL 17. He also hosts a sports show on Friday nights at 11:30 called Sports Scene. He's a fantastic guy. Great follow on Twitter. We're gonna ham it up about all Philadelphia sports topics with him tomorrow. And we got Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad coming on Friday morning with us. So we got a jam-packed week. Make sure you're following us all. Make sure you're subscribed to the DSM YouTube page. Just make sure you're following something DSM because it's a jam-packed show. And it's Masters Week. It's my favorite week of golf of the year. Not one golf show this week, 2, maybe 3, maybe 100. I might go live every single day. My green jacket is pressed, ready to be worn all week right here. Mark, Jason, you can only get a green jacket if you win the Masters or if you steal one like I did. I stole mine. So
you need to tell us that story.
I didn't really steal it. It's fake. It's a knockoff. I was just kidding there.
Phil, Tiger, game time decision. What's going to happen?
He is going to play. I don't think he should play, but he is going to play. But I will be watching with my eyes glued to the TV when he tees it up on Thursday, whatever time he gets, because it's Tiger. I get so excited about golf when it's Masters Week. So I'm going to be live multiple times. I got Hunter on Tuesday. I got Chris Ebom on Wednesday. We're going to have a lot of Masters fun this week on the network. So following DSM Media, it is so important. Everybody have a great Monday. Let's start this week off with a bang, guys. And we'll be right back tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m., right here on DSM Media. Hey, we're back at it, guys. Sixers in 5, right?
Sixers in 5.